Go and wash up. You smell unbearable, Tanya grimaced, unable to tolerate the fragrance of her new human resources. Once you're done, go to the last room down the corridor on the left. We'll figure out what to do with you there. The two unpresentable figures stared with wide eyes at the door behind her. Suddenly, the girl timidly raised her hand, as if afraid to speak up unnecessarily. Uh, 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 that is, what about clothes? Since she glanced at her rags, which her once refined Gothic dress had become. There are clothes in the room next door. Pick something out. Tanya nodded. The Holy Father's grinning face suddenly moved closer to her. She had seen that obscene smile many times before. Aren't you afraid we'll run away? How about you personally supervise us, And I could offer you an additional service? Shall we say personal services? His tongue licked his lips in anticipation. Tanya frowned. Well, it seems I'll still have to work on their discipline. Tanya unleashed a wave of holy energy, and the artifact around the pervert's neck responded. The Holy Father dropped to his knees and convulsed. His silver collar around his neck glowed with a golden light, clearly not bringing pleasure to its owner. Veins bulged on his neck, and his obscene face twisted into a grimace of pain. His hands tried to tear off the foreign object, but nothing worked. Only his skin was covered in bloody streaks. The girl backed away in fear, warily clutching her own collar. After 10 seconds, Tanya cut off the flow of energy, and the Holy Father finally caught his breath, sprawled on the floor. That's a reminder for you, to realize your position and not to use your filthy tongue. If you try to escape or tear off my gift, your heads will immediately part from your bodies. Is the hint clear? Tanya narrowed her eyes, surveying the pale faces of the Holy Father and the fallen angel. They did not dare to object. Well, that's good. Now follow the order. You have 10 minutes. Get moving. As soon as they disappeared behind the door leading to the bathroom, Tanya headed towards her people, pondering how interesting the situation had become. Why does she constantly have to deal with people like him? Though his behavior isn't surprising given this human resources preferences. Something had to be done about the Holy Father's twisted nature. Tanya had promised him she wouldn't discard him, but these attacks were truly annoying. In any case, he was the type who only respected strength. Therefore, methods for dealing with him weren't hard to find. The main thing was not to show weakness, or they would devour her instantly. She would have to pay special attention to him, but that wasn't a problem. They would soon have more work, especially in light of the new information. The Holy Father turned out to be quite useful. The situation had become even clearer. She would indeed have to change the plan, but that didn't matter. She would have had to do it anyway, because Tanya glanced at the cross on her chest. Damn being X. His surprises always popped up when they weren't needed. Tanya shifted her thoughts back to the Holy Father and the fallen angel, summoning their statuses. Status. Name. Fried Selzen. Age. 17 years. Race. Human. Modified. Status. Tatiana Haido's human resource. Level. 31. Evolutionary index. D. Characteristics. Strength. 10. Agility. 35. Constitution. 12. Faith. 18. Perception. 18. Energy affinity. Light. 14%. Demonic energy. 10%. Status. Name. Middlet. Age. 16 years. Race. Fallen angel. Status. Tatiana Haido's human resource. Evolutionary index. D. Level. 20. Characteristics. Strength. 5. Agility. 15. Constitution. 8. Energy. 12. Energy affinity. Light. 14%. Magic. 9%. Skills. General. Fallen angel magic. Level 2. E. Magic energy manipulation. Level 3. E. Light manipulation, level 2, E. Anomalous energy resistance, level 1, E. Stealth, level 1, E. Mental influence, level 1, F. Dialectus, level max. Their stats turned out to be very interesting. The levels were not high, of course, but still something. The fallen angel was only E rank. Surprisingly, the Holy Father was stronger than her, despite being human. It didn't look like he wielded magic, but energy manipulation was available to him. He was susceptible to demonic energy and the power of light. What did they do to him in the church? To create this. The church certainly could not be trusted. Clear pawns of being X. Nothing good should be expected from them. The Holy Father's parameters weren't particularly high. Tanya's main fighters were stronger, but if she put him through his paces, something useful might come out of it. For now, he was only pulling through on the potential of a modified human. What mutant was this? She would have to question him about it in detail. And the fallen angel was worth a closer look. She could clearly be useful. Light manipulation, just as Tanya had thought it was. Although the level wasn't high, she had useful skills that Tanya could master. As for working with light, besides attack and defense, Tanya couldn't do much else. She sorely lacked knowledge, and perhaps this time she would fill that gap. And most importantly, of course, teleportation. Finally, she had gotten her hands on that cheating ability. Could she learn it herself? She did have light manipulation, although this ability clearly belonged to the fallen angel magic class. She could see how her new ability, analysis of energy structures, would perform. She had already applied it to Asia's ability, but there was no result yet. Only this appeared. Process. Analysis of Twilight Healing structure. 0.0238474%. 100. It looked like this would take a considerable amount of time. Well, that was secondary for now. The main being was that she had acquired 2 useful human resources. She could even sacrifice them if needed. Cruel? They weren't innocent sheep either, and a real war was going on. If they had the chance earlier, they would have sacrificed Tanya themselves. In any case, everything would depend on how useful they turned out to be. She needed human resources now like air, even ones like them. There was no choice. She had to use everything that could be used. Tanya quickly reached the room where the planning session would take place. Raised voices drifted from inside. No, 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 no! That's impossible! It just can't be! It was the nun's clear voice. She seemed to be hysterical. But, Asia-san, it's true. You can see. We filmed it during the fight at the church. He's the instigator of everything. It was Musashi. No, I don't believe it. It's some kind of mistake. Tanya-chan, I'll explain everything to Tanya-chan. The door slid open and the nun rushed out of the room with teary eyes. Oh, Tanya-chan. The girl stopped. Her eyes filled with the light of determination, and she pulled Tanya into the room. Tanya-chan, this must be some kind of mistake. Listen to what they're saying. Tanya didn't like what was happening. She didn't need any more problems. She had given instructions. What happened here? Tanya surveyed the room. Musashi, in a kimono, was sitting by the plasma TV in the corner, frowning and glaring at the nun. Next to her, Yoshi was sitting in a chair, looking downcast. Oda was sitting on the armrest next to him, shaking her head in confusion, as always, not grasping the atmosphere. The head was sitting meekly in the corner of the room, devouring Tanya's legs with puppy dog eyes. Apparently, the moment she entered, that was the only thing that concerned the pervert. Everything else took a back seat. What is going on here? Tanya raised an inquisitive eyebrow. Oh, Tanya-chan, just listen to what she's telling me. Asia pointed a finger at Musashi. She says, the girl choked on her words, unable to control her emotions. That Diodora-san planned all of this. She pointed at the TV screen which showed the devil from their aerial battle. So they were watching the recording of that fight. Strange. why did she react like that? Although, judging by her reaction, they were acquainted. Was she missing something? Damn it, what should I do now? The situation with Asia could reach a dead end.
A familiar laugh with notes of madness suddenly erupted. That bastard Diodora. They gave him a good beating back then. The Holy Father's usual maniacal smile shimmered on his face. Agia fearfully hid behind Tanya, and the fighters stood up from their seats. Whoa, what a warm welcome! Fried raised his hands in a defensive gesture and feigned fear, backing away. I'm already scared. Stop it, Tanya commanded. They will be working with us now. There's no need to worry. They are completely under my control. Tanya nodded towards the priest and the fallen angel. In response, the fighters relaxed and sat down, looking at the visitors with interest. Only Asya looked fearfully at the priest. Seeing her reaction, he stretched into a smirk and like a snake slid towards her. Getting face to face, he licked his lips and said, What a silly little nun. Naive little nun. You have no idea how lucky you are. He pointed at the screen. Because if you had ended up with that bastard, you would have had to work as his doormat for the rest of your pathetic life. Before the Holy Father could finish, the collar activated, glowing with light. He fell to the floor convulsing in agony and desperately trying to suck in air. Agia, who had been ready to burst into tears at his words, now stared at the priest with wide-open eyes. Tanya stomped her foot on his agonizing face and leaned down to his ear and said, I already warned you, Father Fried. Watch your filthy tongue, or I'll rip it out by the roots. The notes of coldness in her words seemed to reach the depths of his sick mind, judging by his pale face. Kicking him one more time on the face for good measure, she disabled the artifact's effect. The Holy Father, gasping for air, got to his feet. Rubbing his neck, he looked at Tanya with a strange expression, but the smirk still refused to fade. Now tell us what you know. Fried began his story, and Tanya barely suppressed the smirk that was ready to spread across her face. It turned out that this Diodora was quite the nun lover, and to find another church slut, he resorted to various tricks, seducing and then plunging innocent girls into vice. Essentially, all his evil pieces were a harem of them, and Asya was meant to join it when he saved her. After all, he was the one who arranged everything to have her exiled. He planned it all in advance, and he acted so that she would have no choice but to rely on him. Then he would tie her to himself emotionally and gain a new toy. If she thought about it, it was little different from what Tanya herself had done. She intervened in time and intercepted a useful resource, and Diodora-kun lost out. Well, good human resources don't lie around on the road. As first come, first serve, as they say. Coo. With every word he spoke, Asya grew paler, trembling incessantly, and Tanya thought that something truly demonic was going on with the devil's tastes, recalling a certain eccentric person with pigtails and a magical wand. How can this be? Agia was speechless and clutched tightly onto Tanya's hand. Tanya hugged her soothingly and patted her on the shoulder. Asia, she looked her in the eyes and said in the saddest, most gentle voice she could manage, Unfortunately, in this world, many things are not at all what they seem at first glance. You must have realized that yourself, right? Both devils and the church can be completely different. But how glad I am that I was in time and saved you from such a fate. Tears began to stream down Asia's face again at Tanya's words. Tanya-chan, if it weren't for you, she sobbed, wetting her collar with saliva. Well, I'll endure it. The main thing is, it seems she has reached the right emotional state. Coo. Tanya shot a look at the Holy Father and nodded approvingly, pointing to the chair nearby. He smirked and settled into it, accompanied by Middletelt. Well, this Holy Father turned out to be a gold mine of useful information. Perhaps this will justify all the hassle with his antics.
Waiting for Asia to step away, Tanya continued. So, today's main agenda is what do we do now? She surveyed everyone present. As you know, the House of Astaroth has declared a full-scale hunt for us. In the last operation, we successfully achieved our main goal, saving Asia. However, as a result, we are now in a difficult position. But I regret nothing. Even if we had to reveal ourselves, it was worth it, because we saved our new comrade, Asia. Tanya concluded confidently, looking around to invite others to speak. Mistress, but you surely have a plan for how to get out of even this situation, don't you? Musashi looked at her with a smirk. The others also supported her. The Holy Father and the fallen angel glanced over with interest. Of course. Who do you think I am? Tanya smiled ironically. We can't withstand a direct confrontation with them, but inaction will lead to the same disastrous result. However, sitting idly by and waiting for our fate is not my style. My motto is, the best defense is an offense. Therefore, my plan is... After the conclusion of the story, the faces of everyone present changed. Some looked with admiration, like Musashi and Oda, some thoughtfully, like Yoshi, some like she was a psychopath, like the fallen angel, and some with anticipation, like Father Freed. Even the head tore his gaze away from his object of adoration and looked down thoughtfully. Silence lasted for a good couple of minutes until the most reasonable of them spoke, Musashi. But mistress, you surely have a plan for how to get out of even this situation, don't you? Musashi looked at her with a smirk. The others also supported her. The Holy Father and the fallen angel glanced over with interest. Of course. Who do you think I am? Tanya smiled ironically. We can't withstand a direct confrontation with them, but inaction will lead to the same disastrous result. However, sitting idly by and waiting for our fate is not my style. My motto is, the best defense is an offense. Therefore, my plan is... After the conclusion of the story, the faces of everyone present changed. Some looked with admiration, like Musashi and Oda, some thoughtfully, like Yoshi, some like she was a psychopath, like the fallen angel, and some with anticipation, like Father Freed. Even the head tore his gaze away from his object of adoration and looked down thoughtfully. Silence lasted for a good couple of minutes until the most reasonable of them spoke, Musashi. But, mistress, following this plan, you will have to reveal yourself, and you didn't want that at all. Yes, you're right. However, it doesn't matter. I would have been exposed sooner or later, and in the light of the events that transpired, sooner. I looked at the rosary with hatred. That's not the main problem, Oda jumped up. Ani-san, are you serious? But then a real hunt will begin for you. Oda, it would have started anyway. Ani-san, but I'm so worried about you. You're taking the most dangerous part of the operation again. I can't stand by and watch this. She rushed up and grabbed Tanya's hands. We have no choice. Oda, Musashi, Yoshi, the three of you will not interfere in the operation. You must not be identified. Then we will have a trump card in case something happens. Only the rank-and-file fighters will come with me and... Tanya shifted her gaze to the priest and the fallen angel. Them. Suddenly, Yoshi stood up from his chair and, approaching, dropped to one knee. What's with the ceremonies? Ani-san, please take me with you, he said in a firm voice. Yoshi, I clearly laid out everything. Only... Ani-san, he raised his voice. Tanya narrowed her eyes with interest. He was acting unnaturally. You always risk yourself. I cannot allow you to be hurt because Yoshi wasn't there when he was needed. As you know, thanks to my mechanism's abilities, it's impossible to identify me. Please, allow me to go with you. Tanya's eyebrows shot up in surprise. Yoshi. She had only seen him like this once. He even stopped spacing out. Well then, he really could be useful. So be it.
All right, but just like last time, you must strictly follow my instructions. He broke into his usual goofy smile. What can I do with them? The girls looked at him approvingly, while the Holy Father watched with strange interest. Suddenly, the head spoke in a serious tone. Ani-san, I will do everything as you commanded. Don't worry, my daughters will complete their mission. However, what about resources? Not only are we short on people, but all our reserves were depleted in the last operation. He shot a displeased look at the Holy Father. And this time, we will need even more. What should we do about this? Damn it, there it is, the most painful sore spot. But there's no choice. I'll have to go through with it. I will acquire everything we need in the near future. Tanya was ready to curse herself for this decision. Damn, Being X, I will never forget what I have to do because of you. The head nodded and sank back into contemplation. So, it is decided. We begin preparations. We have very little time. Dismissed, Tanya cried out, standing up with the nun still clinging to her arm. Musashi, show our newcomers the ropes and give out the instructions.
As soon as she gave the final orders, everyone rushed off to their tasks. Tanya turned her gaze to the girl. She had been staring at her thoughtfully for quite a while. Suddenly, she spoke. Tanya-chan, are you really going through with this for me? No, Asia. It's not just about you. You might have been the catalyst for everything, but sooner or later, it would have happened. I guess that's my fate. She sighed. Tell me, Asia, do you believe me? Will you trust me no matter what happens in the future? She looked into the girl's eyes where a spark of determination ignited. Of course, Tanya-chan. Absolutely, no matter what happens. She nodded confidently. Cuckoo. Now she won't leave me. Let's go, Asia. It's time for you to go back. The girl, walking beside her, followed her. At the exit of the mansion, she stopped and looked at her with unnatural seriousness. You are so strong, Tanya-chan. Tell me, how can I become strong like you? I ran away my whole life, and in the end, I only caused a lot of problems for others, Issei-san and you, Tanya-chan. Now I realize what a burden I was. No, I knew it before, but I did nothing to change. I don't want to be a burden again. I want to, no matter what happens, to help you and Issei-san. This was interesting. Asia. Tanya grabbed her arm and squeezed it tightly. You have been unlucky. First, the church controlled you, then the fallen angels, and even the benefactor you helped betrayed you. But you still hold on. You are already very strong, Asia. I'm proud to have a friend like you. Therefore, if you allow me, I can only give you one piece of advice. Asia's eyes became serious as never before. Don't let anyone control your destiny. See with your own eyes and make your own decisions. A person is responsible for their actions and no one else, neither God nor the devil. No one can control your fate. The girl looked serious, and Tanya noted with surprise the nascent sparks of something new. So, if you want something, just take it and do it. Oh, sorry, Asia, I got carried away. But the girl nodded seriously in response to these words. By the way, Asia, Tanya's gaze fell on the bracelet. I noticed that my gift started causing you pain because you became a devil, so I pulled a new silver bracelet from my pocket. I want to give you this. It will help you just as well, but it won't cause you harm. The girl smiled warmly. Tanya removed the bracelet from her right hand and put on the new one. Watching these actions, Asia spoke. Tanya-chan, this bracelet is very dear to me. Can I keep it? It reminds me of you. Why not? Tanya shrugged. Of course, Asia. She handed it to her. It's yours anyway. Just be careful with it. It's dangerous for devils. The girl nodded and pressed it to her chest with a smile, like the most precious treasure. Oh yes, Asia. Tanya took a couple of tickets for her concert, which would take place in 2 days, from her pocket. Here, take these. You can see everything with your own eyes. Just be careful. It might be dangerous there. The girl accepted the tickets, smiled radiantly, and bowing deeply, headed for the exit. Well, that's done. All that's left is... Tanya took out her phone and dialed a number. Yes, yes, this is the only magical girl of this universe on the line. Wincing internally and cursing being X, Tanya replied, Levy-chan, I accept your proposal.